just barbecue weather and the perfect time for picnics and summer parties. If you are trying to stay alcohol free at the moment, but you just can't imagine not drinking at some boozy get together, this video is for you. I want to share 4 tips to help you navigate these events and actually have a really good time in the process. So, my first tip is to get clear on what the point of the gathering is. I know this sounds a little bit weird, but why are you going exactly? Why are people going to spend time together? Like, what's the point of that? We're very good at accidentally making everything about alcohol, but if you stop and really think about it, you can see there's much more to it. If the only purpose of these events was to drink alcohol, then everyone would just stay at home. Like, it'd be a much more convenient way of getting drunk. But we arrange these things with other people for a reason. So maybe you're catching up with old friends and getting up to speed on their news. Maybe you are celebrating a birthday or an anniversary. Perhaps you are hanging out with other humans because you're trying to get to know them better, or you're meeting some people for the first time. Or perhaps you're spending quality time with family who you haven't seen in person for ages. When you get really clear on what the point of the meetup is, it does help you focus on what matters. Because people might say, "Oh, come round for drinks," which makes it sound as if it's all about the alcohol. But it's not really. It's just a little bit easier to say that than being more vulnerable and saying something like, "I really miss you, and I'd really like to spend some time with you and just catch up." When you know what the point of an event is, you can see that you are going to get that no matter what liquid is in your glass. You really aren't missing out. Okay, my second tip is to decide in advance that you're not going to drink. Again, I know this seems like an obvious one, but you wouldn't believe how many people don't do that. And how often people end up drinking because they told themselves they would wait and see. Waiting until you get there nearly always means that you'll drink. It's just that before you drink, you'll have to go through this really tedious back and forth process where you battle with yourself and and have an entire conversation in your head about whether or not you should drink. That is so tiring and exhausting. You often end up drinking simply because it's going to end the conversation in your head. The thing to remember about pushing through these kinds of will I, won't I, should I, shouldn't I moments is that if you push through, it dramatically increases your chances of a breakthrough. You really can't figure sobriety out without overcoming a few challenges. So it's in these moments when you say, "Okay, I'm not drinking and I really mean it," that's when you open up this opportunity for something amazing to happen. Like, you go to that party and because you're not drinking, you have a really good chat with someone or some proper belly laughs at something. And then you come home thinking, "Oh my goodness, I had a genuinely good time." It wasn't the fake fun or the fake connection that you get with drinking. I really genuinely enjoyed that and I'm going to remember all of it. My third tip for you is to make sure that you have an alcohol-free drink in your hand at all times. And I say this for several reasons. First, it's an easy way to turn down an offer of an alcoholic drink is to already have a drink in your hand and be able to say, like, "No thanks, I'm good, I've got one." Also, having a drink can give you something to do with your hands if you're feeling a little bit nervous. Plus, staying hydrated is a good way to ward off any cravings for alcohol. Again, I'm back with the basic tips, but many of us misinterpret thirst and hunger for alcohol cravings. So you can just make life so much easier on yourself by staying hydrated. And if it's a barbecue, you can probably take your own drinks. Little bonus tip for you, Take more drinks than you think you'll need because I bet someone else will want to drink your drinks. This happens to me all the time. Like that story you have about being the only one not drinking, highly unlikely to be true. All right, and finally, my fourth tip is to think ahead and plan through the event. So, for example, if you know this is the kind of do where you're going to turn up at lunchtime, but there's not going to be any food until much, much later in the afternoon, well, have something to eat before you go. Like, as I just mentioned about hunger and thirst triggering cravings, you don't want to let yourself get hungry if you're in early sobriety. People don't mind drinking on an empty stomach because, of course, it gives them more of a buzz. But if you're staying sober, you won't want to get ravenous, so don't allow that to happen. Another thing you can plan for is what you're going to say if people ask why you're not drinking. Have something up your sleeve. You can also plan your exit. Perhaps see if you can drive there and then make sure you can drive home whenever you want to. And don't forget, you can also plan your next day as well. Like, if this gathering is going to be a challenge for you, then please factor in time to do something nice for yourself to celebrate. Plan some lovely sober treats for you to enjoy when you get home that evening or the very next day. You deserve it. So those are my 4 tips for surviving summer parties and boozy barbecues. And now, I would really love to hear from you if you've got some tips that have really helped you stay on track this summer, and if you've got some cool experiences to share where you've pushed yourself out of your comfort zone and had a real win as a result. All right, enjoy the rest of your summer, and I hope you have a happy and hangover-free week ahead.